how far we go, and then maybe even this evening, as you know, we do death absorptions in a reflective way. So we go through these stages that you visualize, if that's okay with you. And also we'll talk a bit about, like, at the time of death. Like yesterday we talked more about life, isn't it? How to live so that we can die peacefully or in a good way. And today we'll talk a little bit about when you are at the time of death, what you can do as a Buddhist practitioner, or somebody else that you know. Because also I think one of the reasons, or a good thing that would be good, is because we have more and more Western Buddhists also. And when we are here together, we think many people are Buddhists, but there's not so many people who are Buddhists in a way. And so I think it's good if you have some kind of a network, that when one of us is going that way, that we know whom to call, whom you would want to be there. I mean, for the Tibetans, of course, you are. I guess you ask somebody from Recon to come, isn't it? Or like that. But for the Westerners, it's like, you are in hospital and nobody knows your practice, nobody knows what you're doing, and then they start, I don't know, doing things. So I think it's quite nice when your strength and your forces are decreasing, and your daily practice that you have, you can't really do it anymore. But if you have somebody next to you who is reading it out, for example, or something like that. So for that, you need to know whom to call, right? And it's good if it's somebody that you know, I think. And for me, this is also is part of being a group, like not just in life, but also at the time of death, because the time of death, as they say, is quite important, because it determines your mind state, determines where you are reborn. Okay, and then even beyond death, as a Buddhist, you can do things like there's certain prayers. I'm not sure if I sent it to you. That you can, it's called giving instructions to a bardo being, where you give these instructions and telling them, now you have this vision and this vision. It's a little bit like the Tibetan Book of the Dead, but like in just on 2 pages, which is something that can be done daily. And if you have been very close to the dead person, then you can create a link. And what it does, I don't know what it does to the people who have gone, but what I know what it does to me, that it makes me feel better, because I don't feel so useless, right? Because we feel when somebody dies, we feel like pretty useless, and it's not such a nice feeling to feel useless, and to be able to do something for the other person, especially if you know what they wanted, if you know their wishes, then that makes you feel open. And then, because they say when just after they died, energetically they can connect to you. It's like not as kind of concrete and solid as we sometimes think it is, but they can. So then they always say it's very good if you have good thoughts about the person, and you encourage them to go forward, and these kind of things. And I guess you have it all in this book. So I sent you this book by mail also. You can download it, or you can buy it, I think.
It's a beautiful book.
It's a very beautiful book. So I still prefer paper. And especially if you are if you're sitting with somebody who's dying, and it's a very, very long process, and you don't know what to do, and you start feeling bored or embarrassed, and because you can't talk and you don't feel at ease, then there's so many prayers in here that you can just read. If it's okay for the person, recite. Yeah, if it's okay for the people, like for the family and for the person, you recite it aloud. So again, you relax, because you are being of some help. But you can also have it on your tablet, or on computer, or on your telephone. So this is it's very complete. Like, it has life in it. It has moment of death in it, and it has like after death in it. So I really highly recommend it. What we used to have before that came out was that one. I don't know if it's still available, which always when I was called to a dying person, because you see, it can be a long process. Like somebody's mother in Israel was in kind of in old people's home, but she seemed not to be conscious, but she was still there for like almost 3 years. So he would go like he's a monk Tekchok. So he would go like a few times a week and just sit next to her and recite these sutras and, hold her, talk to her as if she's still there, which is very important, as they say. Never think that when they're in a coma that they don't hear or whatever. So when you are around them, behave as if they're conscious, because they're very receptive. So that's what he did. So whenever I was called, it was then if you can still ask the person what they like, what their daily practice is, and what they like, then you can just do that. If you don't know, then you do whatever you feel comfortable with. It's very important in these times that you feel comfortable, because and also, as we just said, I'm afraid of death. When I'm called, then it's always first thing, oh no. To be honest, because I still have this fear. I carried this fear with me as a very small child. I was really frightened of dead people, because I was also, it's not that's not the main reason, but when I went to school, the church was, and the graveyard was just next to the school. And when I was at school, they would still come when there was a funeral. They would still come with the black horses and, this carriage with the, with glass, and then the black coffin inside, and so we would see it sometimes in the breaks. I was terrified of this. I had nightmares about coffins and dead people and things like that. I never talked to anybody about it. So I think I still have it. So I'm quite grateful for these people when I have to go. I'm not happy, to be honest. It's not like, oh, wow. But I see that, as you say, then you're there and then you calm down. This whole... The fear creates all these fantasies that they're not conscious, that's not the way it is. And then when you're there and you see, well, nothing. So it's not a conscious process, what is happening. It's more just something that happens because, as you said, sometimes when you have night shift and you are with dying people, then you feel quite calm and quite open, isn't it?
But it doesn't mean that I'm not afraid for them, but I'm afraid for myself.
Yeah.
Afraid of death.
Yeah. So this is why also kind of awareness meditation or mindfulness meditation is very important before you go in the room. So, before I open the door to the room, I make sure that I'm okay. And then that's okay, because it's quite easy, as we saw yesterday, it's quite easy to open up and to relax if you have the habit of doing it. If you don't train it now, then also it will not be possible to do it when there is the difficult moment. So this is why it is so important to, I really suggest you that same way as you brush your teeth every day, that you sit down every day and do this very, very simple mindfulness meditations. You will see your life will change. And then slowly, the mind automatically, when you feel that it's getting narrow in here, automatically it will open up, because it will go to that feeling of being narrow, and with the out breath, then you open up. It doesn't take that long to create the habit of doing that if you do it daily. And when I say daily, I tell you 10-20 minutes is enough, but daily, same way as you brush your teeth. Have you ever had the feeling, oh, I don't have enough time to brush my teeth?
Yes.
All the time.
And then you don't brush them, but you still brush them. Yeah, okay. Or have you ever had the feeling, oh, I don't have enough time to eat? You still eat.
Yes.
Yeah, we always always find the time to eat. Yeah. And if your day is so full that you can't sit down, you can do it while walking to the bus or to the train, or when you are waiting, in the car in a red light or something like that. Hi, good morning. Just to go inside and be aware of your body. This is the thing. Body is always in the present. Yeah. Okay, so I think we will start like this. Yeah, sorry.
May I ask a question too? It was a few sentences before that the dead, the dying or the dead, they connect with us.
Can.
Not in a materialistic way, of course, but in which way do they, and how long after they?
It's you can't say. I mean, it really varies. It depends a little bit also, I think, in how you let them go, because you can also kind of hold them by, for example, keeping their things, or what the lamas always don't suggest that you should do, keeping their ashes and talk to them every day, because they say like this, it's another being now. And at the beginning they might still remember the connection that you had, but then they forget and they see you going on with your life, and then they get kind of angry and start harming you. So it's like they say, really let them go, kind of also like inside, but we don't know for how long. But when my brother died, I mean, my sister, there was a very, very strong connection. My sister said, I feel he's here. Yeah, so, but I can't say how long and how and this and that. Like they really feel the presence. And then one of his daughters, she also felt it, but she said, look, I'm afraid, I prefer that you're not coming anymore. And so that's it, and it stopped. But not moving things around without, not like this, just more feeling that they're there.
Because I felt after a death of a close person that there was just a period, it's about 2 months later, that everything went wrong. Everything went wrong in my life.
Wrong,
yes. This broke and that wasn't good. And this person went and this gave me trouble and just... And then, of course, I blamed him.
Okay. Then, it's also, there's this story about...
my imagination.
No, there's this story about Milarepa, that he felt there were spirits, because there's also spirits, I mean, one can be reborn as a spirit. And so these spirits have they don't have a body, but they have some powers and whatever. So they can be benevolent or they can be harmful. So this is also one of the dimensions where you can be reborn. So it could be that, I don't know, it could be just your karma. So, this, I don't know, I have no clue what it is. But it's, so what Milarepa did when he felt that he was disturbed by spirits, so first he did a lot of wrathful pujas to kind of chase them away, and didn't help. So then he thought, okay, so then he started apologizing. So he said, okay, if I have harmed you, look, I'm really, really sorry. So then now, because I don't know if you know Milarepa, because he was living in a cave, he had absolutely nothing. He didn't even have clothes. And he was eating nettles, nettle soup all the time, but he was meditating the whole time because he had these instructions from Marpa, from his teacher, what to do, and he was ready to do it, and it said he attained enlightenment, full awakening in that life, although he had killed like 32 people with his powers that he had before. Actually, there's a movie. The Tibetans made a movie of the first part of his life. Maybe you can watch it one movie night or something like that. Anyway, so he started apologizing, and he said, look, I don't have anything, but whatever you want to take, even take my body if you think that will be of help, with a lot of compassion. And then it stopped. Okay. So when I was in Dharamsala in my room one night also, I felt that something was there. And I thought, okay, I'll do like Milarepa. And said, okay, I'm sorry if I harmed to you, take my possessions, take my body. And then I felt, maybe imagination, maybe yes, I don't know. You see, the thing is, whatever we see and perceive, all of it is imagination. Okay?
That's what went through my mind.
Everything is projection. Everything is not the way we perceive it. Everything is like we add things to existence. So it's not that this is real and whatever spirits and this is not real. It's just, it's more subtle like spirit. So I felt on my knee, I felt as if somebody is kind of pinching me And then I went like, no! And so that was it. So I thought, okay, maybe I'm not ready to be like Milarepa to give my body. And I took refuge, I started to take refuge. Then also it stopped. So yeah, it could be. It could be, and if you feel like there's something like that, I mean, the Tibetans, they have an incredible toolbox what to do. There's something called 100 torm offerings that we do from time to time also in the center in Bern. You make like little bowls, Tsompa bowls, like more than 100, is about 160 of them. You have like different little containers where you put them, and then you offer them to different categories. At the beginning, one always offers to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas because they're the highest objects. Not because they need it, okay, but because for us to show our devotion, our respect, our gratitude for them being present, to give us all these methods, and then come like the lower deities and and then there's one section, one dish, which is little Tsompa bowls that you offer to the beings that you have karmic debt with. Because if somebody can harm you, be it living or spirit or whatever, because also living being harm us, I mean, it's not just the spirits who harm us. And if you haven't been harmed, then you're very fortunate, I mean, so many people get harmed by other people. So that means you have karmic debts with them. And then they take on the name or the label of harming spirits, Schadengeister. And so actually the biggest part of this offering is for them. So you kind of, you have that, you say the verses, it's a text, you say the verses, you verse some, you pour some milk over it, and then all this goes out, and then the birds eat it or whatever. So it's a way of showing regret. It's a way of showing that, okay, I know I harmed you, taking responsibility. I want to make up for it. I like the practice very much. And it's an easy way to repay your debts, because what you also do when you do this practice, before you start, you generate bodhicitta, right? You generate the wish, not just for my happiness now, but because I don't want to have hindrances or obstacles on my path to full awakening. Yeah, so this is that. And then when I'm awakened, of course, I will be able to be of benefit to you, to be of proper benefit to you, and I'll be you'll be the first one that I help or something like that, or that I go and look for. Yeah. So when I talk like this, it seems as if full awakening is something really easy and something that how we resonate and how we react and how we think. It's not like this, because anyway, a Buddha's mind is like spontaneously kind of taking care of others uninterruptedly, spontaneously, effortlessly, whatever. So it's a very attractive kind of goal, isn't it? To have spontaneous empathy, compassion, love, the wisdom how to help for all sentient beings, whoever is there. So it's, if you start reading sutras, when they start to describe the Buddhas, it always says like unimaginably this and this and this and this, because for us, we have a tendency we have the arrogance thinking that we understand everything, as long as somebody explains it properly to me. But for the mind or the qualities of a Buddha is unfathomable. We cannot understand what it is properly. Yeah. But since the Buddha looks a little bit like a human being, then we think he's a bit like a human being. But it's like he just has this form so that we can connect. But otherwise, the mind of a Buddha is amazing. Yeah. Is that? Yeah, is that okay? So if you want to know, I mean, what this 100 torm offering and all this is, then I don't know, I can send you the text, or you can actually know, because the practice that what I have is not from the FPMT, but I think we have one. I think they also have a text, so I could send you the text. The German text I have from Losang Rinpoche in Erlenbach. And so we do from there. It takes a long time. The practice itself doesn't take long, but the making of the Tsompa bowls takes about 1 or 2 hours. So, yeah, it's okay, because paying debts, it has to be something, not just, I mean, you could also take this. you can buy something and take this, but I think it becomes much more meaningful when you do take the time to make these bowls. Or it can be champa or whatever, oats or whatever.
Knödel.
Huh?
Knödel.
Knödel, yeah, you make some knödel. Okay, but if you have the text, then you have all the instructions how to do that. I think we're doing next week, if I'm not mistaken, in Bern, one morning. Okay. So we do, as I said, we do a short recap of what we did yesterday in a more kind of reflective way, if that's okay. Because this would be the steps, okay? Like you listen to what Buddhism has to say, you think about it, what you maybe did in the evening, and then you sit down and try to internalize it. If you're thinking about it, you came to the conclusion, yeah, this is a good thing. This I would like to internalize. If you don't want to internalize it, of course, then these reflective meditations that are being guided, they become torture. Yeah. So this is what the Buddha kind of encouraged us also, that when we listen to the teachings, that we take them and we look at them and we check them. And when we find it helpful and when we have this wish to be able to integrate them into our life and to live them, then we sit down and meditate on them, not before. Yeah. So sometimes I quite felt for the people in Tushita, we do these 10-day courses, or also in Kopan. You have people in these courses, they're absolutely not happy with what they hear, but still, there's the teaching, and then there's the meditation, the meditation on it. And I found it a bit, your mind has to be receptive, your mind has to be open. So this is why also when they talk about teachings, they talk about 3 vessels. Do you remember? Have you ever heard 3 cups or 3 vessels? Wrong vessels for giving teachings or for receiving teachings. Have you ever heard about them? Okay. So one is the cup that is upside down. Nothing goes in because you're not interested, or because you already have another philosophy and you go with that. So you're not interested in hearing anything else. So that would not be the right vessel to give teachings to when you feel that the cup is totally upside down. Then you have the other cup which is leaking. That's probably all of us, I think. Yeah, it's like, me also, don't worry. I remember these things because I have to talk about it so much, otherwise I wouldn't remember them either. So, and even I forget things, yeah. So you have the leaking cup, you pour the teachings in, it comes right back out. That's us, okay? So this is why it's good to understand, instead of starting to feel bored, and instead of just ticking up, ticking, this I done with discovering Buddhism. I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, and then thinking that that's it. Yeah, it's not it. You have to hear this again and again and again and again and again and again and again until it sticks. Yeah, and having meditations in a group like this, maybe analytical meditations, where that you have to lead as a student, that's the best way to learn. That is really the best way to learn, because then you have to look at these points and you have to internalize them and you have to work with it. So it's a very good way for you. Actually, the teaching is more for you than for the others in a way. You benefit a lot when you come forward and say, okay, I can volunteer and I lead meditations. And don't be too humble and think, oh no, I don't know enough, or I can't do it. It makes you study the thing, which is a very good thing. And so this whole thing about discovering Buddhism, you can do the same thing again and again and again and again. And if you already kind of come with an idea, no, I want to have something new because this is what our mind wants, then if the same thing is offered again, you might not even go. Yeah. But when you notice that, I can't remember what's been said at the beginning, but I want to, I want to remember what's been said at the beginning. So it's good when you repeat the same thing again and again and again and again. And all this is Lamrim teaching, so it's like you can, and once you are familiar with the structure, then you know where to fit it in, and then it becomes very meaningful. Yeah, so it's okay to hear the same thing again and again and again. If you want to make it part of your life, that then it comes automatically. Yeah. So that you react like this. The third kind of cup is the cup that is, they call polluted. That you listen to this for the wrong reasons. Yeah, well, maybe you're a devout, whatever other religion. You come and study Buddhism so that you can kind of reject what is being said. Because whatever is being said in Buddhism, you can come up with a yes but which says the other way. That would be the wrong reasons. Or actually another wrong reason is you want to learn so that you can earn money with it. That is another wrong reason. Yeah. If you want to just learn for yourself, that's good enough, because there's one vehicle, which is the Theravadin vehicle, which is for your self-liberation. That's good enough, because if you start to look after yourself in a very good way, and you start to take care of your negative emotions, automatically that's good for others also. Yeah. If you have the motivation, I want to do this, but also actively being able to help others or to be of benefit to others, that is what is called the best motivation. Then the cup is not polluted with like selfish reasons. Yeah. So these are the three vessels that would be not appropriate to pour teachings in. So again, I think from my side, I'm not a teacher, I'm just a student like you, and I'm just sharing whatever little I know. So from my side, sitting here and having kind of the responsibility, I cannot check so much what kind of vessel you are. You are the one who has to check what vessel am I. Yeah. So am I a good vessel to pour the Dharma in? Because then it becomes very beneficial also. And it's quite amazing to see that when things go wrong and it doesn't work, when we check why we did them, and we see the motivation, either to impress somebody, or because we were forced, or we felt it was my duty, but we didn't really want to do it, but we wanted to keep the good reputation that I'm always helping when somebody needs, and all these kind of things. When you see that this was at the motivation, and deep down, not here, but really deep down, then we understand why it didn't work out well. When your motivation is just to be of benefit, and in whatever way you can, then we don't have to worry so much about the result now, because also we know that the karma that we have created is like positive. And even if the result right now was not so good, that then in the future there will be some good result, because karma doesn't ripen immediately, right? It needs to ripen. It needs a process. Like if you plant a seed, it's very good that you plant the seed, but you need to wait until it comes up. If next to it, then all of a sudden you have a flower and say, oh, it's already coming, then it's probably another seed that you planted before. That was already there. Yeah, so there's no such thing, they say, as instant karma. Yeah, but when you have a good motivation, for the positive karma to ripen has much more chance that you created before. Yeah, so it's a little bit, I think the next module is karma, isn't it?
Isn't there in the Pali text Buddha's, what you call it, his follower, that he was instantly brought into enlightenment? He asked a question and Buddha answered, when you eat, you eat. That's
Kaudinya.
Yeah.
That's in the first teaching of the Buddha, when he talks about impermanence and the Four Noble Truths. So why did Kaudinya understand immediately? Because he had created the reasons in order for it to click before. Not because he came from total not knowing anything. Mm-hmm. And then, he held up a flower, and Kaudinya understood impermanence by seeing the flower. Yeah. So he became Kaundinya, the noble one. So that's in the first sutra of the Buddha. Huh?
Yeah.
Kaudinya. Yeah, that's his. That was the disciple. So because the moment will come where you are from non-enlightenment or non-awakening to awakening. Mm-hmm. But before, you need to have done all these steps, which he has done. And actually, why the Buddha taught, since we're there, when the Buddha attained awakening, he didn't teach, because he thought this is too profound. This will confuse people even more. And so he was asked by Brahma and Indra, I think, after 14 days of sitting in Bodh Gaya, they came to ask him to teach. And they said, for those who have but little dust in their eyes, Nimalo. Yeah, so you have some monks who are called Nimalo, and it means the one who has very little dust in their eyes. So you just need to go, and then it goes. Me, the dust I have is probably mixed with oil and, on my eyes. So like this, because at that time there were many, many people seeking and searching and doing spiritual practices. So it needed just this little bit of teaching about emptiness and selflessness that they needed in order, because when you understand impermanence, you understand emptiness. Yeah. But on a deeper level, like the subtle impermanence, how everything changes all the time. So this is how it said. So he said, please come and teach for those who have but little dust in their eyes. So many of the Buddha's disciples attained full awakening, or liberation at least, while he was around. Because just the contact with this fully awakened being, ripened all these seeds that they had been planted before. Does that answer your question? Yeah. So don't worry. You see, if we continue on this path and we keep putting these seeds, at one point they will ripen. Yeah. Like if you keep going in the direction of full awakening, like even if it's very far, it doesn't matter. But at one point you will be there. Like when you generate a good motivation, you recreate causes to be fully awakened at one point. Yeah. So that's it. We don't have to worry. We don't have to worry that people say, oh, but it lasts so long. So what? Doesn't matter. We have time. Time is endless. Yeah, no, but I want it now. So this is, this is why they say, I think I said it yesterday, think very big. Only the best is good enough for me. It's full awakening, becoming a Buddha. Then look very far ahead. It will take a long time. And then start from where you are. These are the things that you do when you decide to do Buddhist practices. But you can also not decide to become a Buddhist, which is fine, and you just take whatever you find helpful for your life. And you're careful that if you have another religion or another philosophy, that you're only taking the things that are not contradicting with what you firmly believe in, because all of it is just belief. Okay? Try not to mix like things that are contradicting. Manipulating them so that it fits. I think that's not so very helpful. But I think what is very helpful, especially at the time of death, know who is your refuge. Whether it's the Buddha, or whether it's Jesus, or whether it's God. Because otherwise you'll be confused. Know where to put your mind. Know where to, to ask for help. Maybe we'll discover it now in the reflection. Where is my refuge? Yeah. It's so important. And when we are alive, this is where you practice these things. When you're not well, this is what we did yesterday. Where does the mind go? To the fridge, phoning somebody, looking at the telephone, going to the internet, sleeping. And then the big question, will that help at the time of death? A good heart is a very good refuge. Your own goodness, your own Buddha nature. And if you trust your own Buddha nature, then seeing the outside Buddha will be a very good refuge. But there's also, Christians tell me, we have lots of discussions, good discussions. They say, how can you live without believing in a creator God? I'm very much involved in the House of Religions in Bern. So everybody else has a creator God, except for the Alevi, they also don't have. But everybody else said they don't understand. So I'm the exotic one there, So it's like, but it's okay. It's okay because we all learned to be together, to do things together without this thing. Mine is good, mine is better than yours, and mine is right and yours is wrong. We kind of had to build up the courage of accepting other people's opinion without being in accord with it, but that's fine. They have a right to have their opinion. It's not harmful. If somebody believes in a creator God, it's not harmful. If they do what this creator God is saying, it's not harmful. It's just not what Buddhism says. Yeah. So it's good for you also to check, where's my refuge? Where can I put the mind so I immediately calm down? Okay, so let's do that short reflection. You can keep your eyes slightly open if you want, but you can also close them. Main point is that you are comfortable with a straight back, because these are the two things we are trying to develop or to kind of build up, which is a mind that is awake but relaxed. And for that we use the body to make sure that the body is comfortable and relaxed, so you connect with the body. I don't know if you had this thought this morning when you woke up. Wow, I am still alive. Again, can become a habit. Instead of going, I have to get up. I can get up. I'm not paralyzed. I'm not sick. And then in order to, to get gratitude, then imagine for a short while, when if you're afraid of your death, of your day, it seems to be difficult or whatever, then imagine, how would that day be if I would be, paralyzed? And then you come back to what actually is and you go, oh, but I can walk. And as you reflect like this, try to see the reaction inside. So go into your chest or your belly or wherever you feel that something shifts when you have certain thoughts. You can play around with this by thinking about something that you're afraid of. Then check what happens. Because emotions are not in the head, you feel them in the body. And this is where we work with them, in the body, not in the head. You don't feel anger in the brain or in the, top of your head. You feel anger in your chest or in your belly. Fear, attachment, all this. So check what's going on right now, or even ask yourself, how am I? And look. And you might notice by just looking and noticing, observing, it will modify itself. Something will change. Something will shift. Then of course we have a tendency of kind of getting distracted and follow thoughts about past, future. So then it's good to have an anchor, and this anchor can be your breath. Seems not interesting enough, but when we become aware that because I can breathe, I am alive. So with your in-breath, you could think, breathing in keeps me alive. But if we hold the breath, then we also die. So in order to survive, we also need to breathe out. So we go, breathing out keeps me alive. So I'm just giving you a few suggestions what you can do. You can try it out. Yesterday we did with the out breath, we open up, become very spacious and wide. Today you can try out this breathing in, keeps me alive. Breathing out keeps me alive. And to notice what kind of body sensations that could be called emotions manifest in your body when you accompany your breathing with these kind of thoughts. If you get distracted, just very simply come back to your breath. If you feel very tense, you can imagine that you're breathing with your whole body, which will make you relax, because if you're not relaxed, the mind will not become stable, it will not stay on your object of meditation or your breath. It will keep slipping off, which it does at the beginning anyway. And then when the mind is stable, it will become clear, and then we see things as they are not caught up in the projections as them being something real. Don't manipulate the breath, just let it come and go in a very natural way. But be aware of it. Just know it. Experience it. Okay, so we can start to reflect a bit. So yesterday we talked about what is called precious human rebirth. That we have a sense of like, wow, we're so fortunate. So the way you do it is like imagining how it would be if you would not have all these situations that we take for granted. Like you could imagine how it would be if your body would be filled with excruciating pain. We've all been to hospitals. We've all seen patients. Maybe some of you worked there. Nobody planned to be there. They just end up there. So it could be us. And then you go, no, but it's not. If you are familiar with the different dimensions or the different realms in Buddhism, that thought would be, I could have been reborn in hell, where there's no hospitals, no Red Cross, no human rights. It's just pain. No time to practice, no space to practice. But I'm not. I'm human, with human intelligence. Then we can think, but I could be human and not be born in Switzerland or not live in Switzerland, but in places like where there's terrible lack. I might have children that I can't feed because there's not enough to drink, not enough to eat. Do you think these people sit down and meditate and study the Dharma? It's all about survival. It's all about feeding their children. No space to work with the mind. Again, nobody plans that. Nobody wants that. But for the moment in this life, it's not me. I have free access to food and drink. I might have to pay for it, but I don't have to fight for it, and I can find it. Isn't that wonderful? So don't think so much about the people in these countries. The meditation is really about you, that you understand without feeling guilty how fortunate we are. That we create some joy about having all these freedoms and all these conditions to be able to practice, which will lead us to happiness. Also, we can think we could have been human, like we could be human, but we could be in a place where it's not allowed to do spiritual practice because of the political system, because of a dictator, because of suppression. You don't have the freedom of speech. There are places like this. I mean, Tibet is such a place. People would get killed for proclaiming that they're practicing the Buddha Dharma and their leader is His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Would you sign up for a Buddhist course if there's the danger that the police finds out and puts you in prison? Would you have enough courage? I wouldn't. I know that the Tibetans have, but I wouldn't. So again, we appreciate that we're not living in a place like this for the moment. Or there could be situations where, we might have interest in doing spiritual practice, but we can't find a group. We can't find books. We can't find anybody to teach us. So that's not the case. There's so much available for us, maybe even too much. But it's definitely available. Or you could have been born with a mind there's a lot available how to transform the mind, how to do spiritual practice, but there's no interest from your side. Many people are like this, just for happiness now, not caring about the future, not caring about others. So it looks like you're not like that. So that's great, that's wonderful. It looks also like you're somebody who kind of values love, compassion, and wisdom, wants to develop it. Many people are not. Many people think, no need to be kind of kind with others. You only get exploited. They think you're stupid and naive. You're not like that, so you can rejoice. So when all these factors come together and even more, then it's called the precious human rebirth. Needs a lot of causes, a lot of conditions for it to come together. So if we don't see its value, we're not using it properly. And also if we don't see its fragility, we're not using it properly. So this is why the first thing that we start to see, if I want to go on a spiritual path, I have what I need right now. Maybe not tonight, maybe not tomorrow, but right now I have it. So that's wonderful. So then in order to use it properly, then we start to think about death, even though maybe it's not so pleasant. So you spend some time maybe in your own words and then, giving your own reasons. What would be the advantage of thinking about that I'm going to die one day? What would be the disadvantage? How would it influence my life right now if I integrate death into my daily life? In the morning, thinking I'm still alive. In the evening, thinking I have one day less time to do what I want to do with this fortunate situation that I'm in. You can do that in your own terms. What's the benefit? What's the disadvantage? Would it be worthwhile? So then when you come to the conclusion that it would be worthwhile, then we have a very structured way of familiarizing ourselves that we are going to die. We seem to know, or we think we know, but we don't really. So the structure is like having these 9 points. And the first main point is that death is absolutely certain. For everybody. The first point is because everybody who is born has to die. We can't find anybody who hasn't died. No matter how famous, no matter how powerful, no matter how intelligent, no matter how good practitioners they were, even the Buddha died. Jesus died. Muhammad died. And we carry death with us all the time. There is no place where you can hide and say, oh, here, death cannot find me. Even you build very big walls that even bombs cannot penetrate. Even you go up the highest mountain or down to the deepest sea, or even out into space, death will find you. It's not something it's external, it's something that we carry with us, having this body. You cannot bargain with death, you cannot give him or her or whatever, all your money, give it all your money. Even you have all the armies of the world, standing at your command, they will not be able to ward off death, to battle it. And even if you are such a good person that all the spiritual leaders and practitioners of the world would make prayers with you, the moment will come where you go. No doctors can help you anymore, no medicine can help you anymore, even if you have access to it. If we think in terms of 100 years from now, none of us will be around anymore. Does that seem real? Not just in the head, but a bit deeper down in your heart. Can you imagine a world without you? Next point we think about that, the lifespan is constantly decreasing. There's nothing we can do to halt it. There's nothing we can do to reverse it or add anything to it. Every second, time is running out. This can be quite freaky, actually. Whatever day is gone, it will never come back. So when we understand these 2 points, that everybody has to die, means also me, time is running out, then we start to check how we're spending our time. And even if you haven't practiced until now, you can still make a decision from now on. I will spend more time looking after the hygiene of my mind, not just the body, not just keeping the body healthy, but also keeping the mind healthy. Learning about these methods, applying them, discussing with others, practicing. It's a very personal decision, has to come from you. Then the next main point is that although death is absolutely certain, the time of death is absolutely certain. Even people who want to kill themselves, sometimes they don't succeed. Or even if you have a very strong will to live, you still have to die. But we don't know when. Because we carry it with us, can come any moment. So the 3 reasons there is like one thing, we don't have fixed lifespans. We can't say, okay, now I'm having fun and then 10 years before I die or 10 months or whatever, I start to practice. We can die any moment. Another reason is we're constantly surrounded by things that can cause our death. Life is quite dangerous. Houses can collapse or burn. Don't know if you listen to the radio, they announce another storm. If you're outside or in the forest or somewhere, something like a branch falling on your head, that's it. You can fall down the steps. You can get hit by a car or have yourself a car accident, your plane can crash. Food and medicine that is supposed to kind of sustain life can be poisonous. People can get crazy around us and start killing, like it happens in many places in the world at the moment. Ordinary citizens just don't know what's going on with them, taking a gun and starting to shoot people. So many things that can cause death, yet we feel quite secure because it only happens to others. Then the third reason there is that the body is very fragile. When you're strong and healthy, you think, oh, no, my body is strong. But then when we see how little it needs to destroy it, especially at the moment with this coronavirus, we can't even see it with our own eyes. But then there's the hope, oh, medicine will find an antidote. Maybe, maybe not. Takes very little to kill a body. Takes a lot to keep it alive. So again, when we understand these facts, is another reason to be happy to be still alive. And then the third main point is, okay, first one, death is absolutely certain. Second main point is, time of death is uncertain. And the third main point is, what will help at the time of death? And then we start to see, when I'm not well, where do I take refuge? Where does my mind go? Does it start to take refuge in material possessions? Do I console myself with looking at my bank account or my diamond rings or my car, my house, all the things I have amassed that I call mine? The thought about having to leave them behind, even though you spent a lot of money for them, and you cherished them, you protected them, how does that feel? Somebody will come, either use them if they're still useful, or most probably, most of it, throw them away or sell them. How does it feel? Familiarize yourself with this fact right now. They're not really mine. They will belong to somebody else when I'm dead. So give that somebody else the permission to do with them whatever they want to do with them. Then you don't suffer. Just imagine how you feel. You get out of the house, you go on the train, you notice you forgot your telephone. How dependent we have become on these things. How they create this kind of fake security. If I have Google with me, I'll be okay. Can't take it with you. Then another thing that we are attached to, and as we are alive, are of great help, is friends and family, to console us, to help us, to calm us down. But again, you can't take them with you. You have to leave them behind. I think for people who come to Dharma groups, the possessions is not such a big thing. But this one, the thought of never seeing these people again in that form, if you think that's not creating pain, I don't know. So we have to be prepared that it will be painful. And especially if we have not resolved the knots in our relationships, if we haven't sorted them out, if we haven't forgiven, or if we haven't done anything about having harmed somebody else. Just look what happens now when you look at your heart again and you think about difficult situations with friends and family. And another thing that cannot help at the time of death is the body, because the body causes death. And that will be the most difficult thing to leave behind, because we identify with it so much. We have been together with it since the beginning of our life. We know it so well. We have invested in it so much. We have spent so many thoughts about how to keep it clean, healthy, entertained, comfortable. Most of our interest goes into these things: how to keep the body healthy, clean, and comfortable, and entertained, happy. At the time of death, no matter how much you cared for it, no matter how much money you spent on it, no matter how many hours you spent doing gymnastics, yoga, whatever else, sports, it will let you down. It will say, look, sorry, I'm tired, get out of here. We think we're not attached to the body because we're together with it all the time. You only notice attachment once the thing is gone. Okay, so now is the time for you to look around and to think, what will help at the time of death? If you are a bit disturbed now, that's actually quite a good thing. So you try to find something that your mind has access to, that is not possessions, like holding them, keeping them, that is not friends and family, them coming with you, and that is not the body, doing something with the body. Something that is beyond that. Something that you can take with you. Something that you can trust that it will calm you down. Try to find something like that. Something that you can rely on to calm you down. That has nothing to do with possessions, friends and family, and this body. Okay. So this is how you do these reflections, which at the beginning, if you don't know the points, it's good if somebody is leading it. Once you start to get the points, to know them, it's good to think about these points on your own from time to time. It's called doing analytical meditation. Yeah. And as you do it, because maybe now nothing has happened, but as you keep doing it, then you feel like things are shifting in here. Become familiar with it, and it starts to make a lot of sense. Okay? All right? Everybody okay? Okay, good. Maybe good to stand up a little bit and shake out your limbs a bit. Okay. So we keep going for another 25 minutes, okay? Or yeah? It's all right? Because sometimes after the reflection, the energy is quite calm, whereas if I give you a break now, then it's all, and so kind of gets lost a bit. Would anybody like to say something? What happened?
I would be really interested to hear your thoughts about euthanasia.
Yeah,
especially in Switzerland.
Okay.
It's,
I don't want to talk about this right now.
not right now, but today.
Today, yes, we will. This afternoon.
Okay, great.
Okay. More, when I said, well, Debbie will say something about what happened now in the meditation.
Sorry.
Whether you noticed something, whether you were moved by something, or whether you found it totally off the wall, what we're doing here, it's completely perverse. Why would I want to think about these things? It's crazy. Be honest.
Well,
I really like, the thought of thinking of my own good heart.
Yeah.
To put my mind at rest.
Okay.
That I really think will help me.
Good. Yeah.
But it's not so easy, to think that you're good.
Yeah. That's a shame. That's a real shame that in the West we are so intelligent. We have many of you who've probably been to university, whatever, me not. I left school when I was 15. But it's so much knowledge about so many things, but we don't know about our nature, which is goodness. I mean, it's sad. It's so sad. We need to go to Asia and to the Tibetans and to the Buddhists who tell us about Buddha nature. I mean, it's so crazy. Somebody else has to tell us about our goodness, isn't it? That we start to believe in. And then it's only a belief. And then it's this, maybe a bit Calvinistic. Are you Protestant? Did you grow up Protestant? Yeah. It's no, I'm not allowed to say or think or believe I'm good because that's arrogant and that's haughty and there's like, I'm bad and I'm a sinner and all this. And it doesn't help. Even if you are a sinner, it doesn't help if you kind of hammer it into you. Yeah. So this is, whatever it seems like, there's this thing, whatever is joy and whatever is fun, whatever is pure, it's like, be careful, could be sin. Ugh. And this kind, you have to suffer. No. The more we suffer, the more we become horrible people. The happier we are, the better the world is. It's also good for others when we're happy. There's a very nice saying, if suffering doesn't know where it comes from or doesn't know what to do with itself, it turns into aggression. Either towards somebody else, like you said, you blame somebody else for your misfortune. Not thinking that even if this person was harming me, why can this person harm me? Why? Because it's my karma to be harmed. So he's just a condition, he's not the cause. The cause lies in here with my previous selfish actions. So, yeah, he's the condition, but not the cause, if it was that. Yeah. So like this, so to start to believe in our own goodness and to, Ursel, like Lama Yeshe's Rebirth, kind of. So he was at one point in his life, he was a punk. Okay, so he had this kind of hairdo like this, and he was hitchhiking on the road in Spain, in Ibiza, with his brother Kunken. And so there's a big car stopped with a very young person who had earned a lot of money with, I don't know, startups and all. It wasn't called startups at that time, but definitely with computers and high tech and la la la. And he was so proud of it, that he was so successful and can buy all the things he wants now. And then so he looks at this punk, which is Ursel, and he looks at him and he says, Kunkin told us the story, that's why I know it. He said, and you? What are you doing with your life? And Ursel said, I just want to be kind. And Kunkin said, this young person, he almost fainted, kind of. He was so impressed by this answer, that somebody who looks like a punk, and then he says, I just want to be kind. So it must have hit something that we all have. He must have hit that that person's Buddha nature, to say, wow, what a good thing. Yeah, there's another story like this about goodness, when people see the goodness, which is by, I never can remember his name. He was a mafia kid in America, and you want to belong, so you need to go to prison, you need to be aggressive, there's no way you can be kind. I think his name is Vinny Leonardo or something like that. And so he was in this gang, and they were about to bash up people with their baseball clubs, and then they saw a homeless person. It's there's a chance that I start crying when I tell the story, because I find it so moving. So anyway, they were about to go and bash up this person, and so he looks up, the homeless, and looks at Vinny and says, please help me. And he couldn't hit. So, because he was the leader of the gang, so he didn't want to say, no, leave him. He said, well, it's not worthwhile. Look, he's weak, and there's not a challenge and all this. So they went, but he came back to him, and he screamed at him. He said, how dare you ask me to help you? Why did you do that? And this homeless person said, because I have never seen so much kindness in somebody's eyes like yours. Like the one with the baseball club. So this homeless person's mind must have been so pure to see the potential behind the aggression. And then, of course, the whole life changed. So now you can find him on the internet. He's working with street kids. He's full of tattoos everywhere, and there's piercings and stuff like that. And he's doing mindfulness courses and things like that, kindness courses. With these people who need it the most, this is the thing, but they're not open to it, because for them it's not good to be kind. Also, people have been hurt very much. People who live in places like Palestine, places like this, is like they don't allow themselves to be kind, because it's a sign of weakness. That's really sad, because that's the thing that would change the situation. I'm glad I'm not the only one. No, I mean, it's okay, even I'm the only one. It's like, I can't prevent it. Actually, I really only cry when I see moving things like this. And I allow myself to cry, because it touches that shell around the heart, and then it cracks it, and it goes in. And it shows us also it's possible, It's possible to change. And this, I'm a good person. I mean, please put it on your mirror in the morning when you look at your face. Sit down and integrate that into your life. I am a good person, because then the goodness will come out. And we start to develop it. We start to have an intention not to be afraid of being good and kind without any kind of agenda or whatever, Not to be afraid when people say, oh, you're so naive. Why are you doing that? Well, I usually say, because I like to do that. It's good for me also. And I have time. This is another factor. When I told you about this lady who is depressed, I have time to go and be with her the day. I can go and sleep there, because I can sleep pretty much everywhere. Yeah, I don't mind, and it's there. It's not a hassle. It's not and it's good for me. Have you ever noticed when somebody's asking you for something and you think, because we calculate kind of, how dare she? Or, well, somebody asked me for 1,500 euro at one point. I know the person, but still, I mean, she was very rich. She was student of the same teacher that I have. And she was always very haughty and always, hanging around the lamas, inviting them because she had the financial means. And so, I mean, I didn't dislike her because of that, but that was it. And she's from Greece. So one day she calls up after 10 years or 15 years of absolutely no contact because my teacher died. And she says, look, I'm really in trouble. Could you lend me 1,500 euro? And I'm not that rich also. And I thought like, huh? So, she was talking and saying why, because she has an apartment she could sell so her son could go to university, but she needs to pay the electricity bill, otherwise she can't sell it, and the whole thing. So at first I felt like saying no. And I battled with myself while she was explaining, this is another thing you can actually, with awareness meditation, and when you are sitting with dying people, it is so important that you learn to listen and really know what's going on, but still also know what's going on with you. That's a skill that you learn, which is very, very helpful. So I was listening to what she's saying. I was there, but I also saw what's going on with me. And then all of a sudden I thought, but you have these 1,500 euro. And I said, yeah, okay, give me your details, I'll send them to you. And it felt so good. It felt much better than and having these 1,500 euros still in my bank account. Because I don't feel them. I can look at it, I can look at the paper when it comes, but I don't feel them. And I don't need them right now. I might need them when I'm out of money, yeah, maybe. But for the moment, I don't need them. And she really needs them. Yeah, and also when I sent it to her, I didn't say it, but in my mind is, if she pays it back, perfect. If she doesn't pay back, then I am paying my bill from stealing money from my parents, which I did as a kid. Okay, you see, when somebody steals from me, I don't need to go into past lives. I can see this life. I stole money from my parents. So that's the karma ripening now. People don't pay back what I gave to them. It's a lot. It's more. I think it's more that went out than that came back. But it's okay. So if you lend money, it's already good. If it doesn't come back, if you're a Buddhist, okay, and you have this view of more than one life, or you find it in this life, you say, if it comes back, good, because it's better for the other person when you send it back. And if you don't, if it doesn't come back, then that's it. You pay the bill from a past life. So, finished. Okay, good. Yeah, so like this.
But you should give with an open heart. You shouldn't give against, having a grudge against the person.
Yeah, if you can give, then it's good to give. I think. But first checking, do I need it? And I thought, no, I don't need it. I don't have to renounce anything in my daily life if I give it, because it's a big sum. I mean, for me, it was a huge sum. Yeah. But I gave it, and she did send it back. It got lost. It was funny. It somehow got lost for a time. So I thought, okay, it's not coming back, blah, 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 da, da, da. Totally let go. And then all of a sudden she kind of calls again. She said, oh, the money came back. It must have gotten stuck somewhere or something like that. And she sent it again. And you see, and in my daily life, it makes zero difference whether I have these 1,500 euros or not right now. Zero. Yeah, so this is what I I wanted to say. But then, if I tell people, if it wouldn't have come back, if I tell even Buddhist people, they say, the Buddhists, they come with this, no, you have to claim it back, it is not good for her, she's creating negative karma.
That's what I was thinking.
This is perverse Buddhist thinking, kind of, that's the reason she is creating we're more concerned about other people's negative karma than about ours. you know. So of course it's right, but it's the motivation why you want it back, and is that motivation really pure when you go like this? Yeah, they're very often, you know, like that we use the Dharma in this kind of way, which is more for selfish reasons than for, you know, people have to, also this whole thing that we have to educate people. I don't have to educate people, I'm sorry, I have to educate my own mind. This is what spiritual practice is all about, not to learn how to manipulate others and what others should do. Yeah, it's for me. Okay, so yeah, start to believe like I'm a good person, and if you don't believe it, maybe some of you, maybe I told it in the group, or maybe I told it upstairs yesterday. One son whose mother had gone with exit. He asked me to come and meet him because he would like to talk about his mom. So I said, yeah, sure. So what he's doing, because he has a certain opinion about his mother, and for him his mother is like this. But he's now asking other people who knew his mother what they thought about his mother. And he finds a totally new mother. Yeah. So if you don't believe that you're a good person, ask other people. And we still don't trust it. You see, because when we start to believe I'm a good person, and we start to trust it and to believe it, the ego goes. The ego doesn't like it. The ego likes to have problems. Then we are somebody. If you have no problems, you're nobody in this world. People ask you, how are you? I'm fine. Conversation finished. That's it. You become a boring person. Yeah. But you also become boring if you're constantly kind of dishing out all your problems. Yeah, people don't want to listen to you anymore. So it's like, also, you know, this whole thing, what will other people think of me? They're just as concerned about themselves as you are. So it's like, you know, it's more like what I'm wearing, what will other people think? Like, they don't see it the same way as you don't see it, I think. Yeah, I don't see what other people wear. I mean, I see it, but it doesn't matter so much. Okay, so there's also another list that I didn't send you these lists, but I can put it together a little bit with the 9 points. And there's another list, I have to find it first, which is there is 11. I got this from Dakpo Rinpoche. I don't know where he got it from, because not from the Lam Rim. 11 helpful states of mind at the time of death. And I wrote them down. Yeah, right. They have to be developed, okay? And you don't need to have all 11 of them. One is enough. So you start to work with the one that seems easiest. So one is non-attachment. So first we need to see, where is my attachment? And as I said yesterday, how can I see my attachment? Is when somebody is touching it that I dislike. I dislike the person, and somebody starting to fondle my watch, you know, saying, wow, what a nice watch. Well, this one probably not. I used to have a Rolex. Because it was, wow, you know, Lacoste t-shirts, Eigner shoes, Rolex watch. This was my outfit. Very sporty all the time, but also very expensive. And so when somebody would, you know, if that Rolex watch would be here and somebody that I dislike would come and say, oh, wow, you got a Rolex. At that time, I would have gotten upset if it is somebody that I dislike. If it's somebody that I respect and says, oh, you got a Rolex, I would have been very happy. That's attachment. When you start to identify with your things that you have, your Lacoste t-shirt and your Eigner shoes, and your Dom Pérignon champagne. Probably you don't even know what it is, but I don't know if anybody knows what Dom Pérignon champagne is. This is what I used to drink also. You know, even if you don't go to university, you can buy these things. Right, so, and I'm not sorry that I spent all this money for these things. I just spent it, and that was it. It's like, what I learned is that they cannot bring, they make you happy to some extent. They make you like you are somebody, you belong to that group of people there, which I didn't really, but I felt like I belonged because I was wearing the same things, and so like this. I learned from that time, I think. And I'm glad I'm not like this anymore, so I'm glad I don't need these things anymore in order to feel good about myself. Like inferiority complex, like you start to be in a certain way because you want to maybe belong to a certain group, or you just, by coincidence, all of a sudden you are in that group, even though maybe you don't want to be there. This was from working in Davos, with in the sports shop. This is where you meet all these people, and then you become friends because you can ski and they can't, and so they respect you because you can ski and not, But then it's them who have to. This is where I learned about Lacoste t-shirts and Rolex watches. I didn't grow up with that in Brook. I didn't have no clue what a Rolex watch is. Okay, non-attachment. So whenever you lose something now, or whenever, just see how reluctant we are to, or how we suffer, even though we don't need it. So then when you feel the pain in here of having lost it, or it's broken or something, then you go, is that me? The Rolex watch, or do I really need it? Now this is from the Micro. It costs 70 francs, and it's very accurate. It really tells the time in a very, very good way. I lose it, no big deal. Yeah. Okay, I lose it, no big deal, not true. I lose it, no big deal, because I know I can buy a new one. Why I have a watch like this? Because when I meditate, I usually take off the glasses. So I need like this so I can still see, because I don't see well anymore, where I should stop or not. Yeah. So if that's the only one I have, then I'm depending on it. Yeah. And then I will have to meditate. I don't know. Now phone is like, I put the inside timer, and this is a good way actually. It's much better than the clock. You put it behind you, and that's it. You're not looking, how does the time go on this? So you put as many minutes as you want, then it goes like this. You can even choose the sound. Goes like this, and so you can meditate in a very relaxed way. But the attachment we have to work with it now. So then we will have a module where we talk about negative emotions. I think probably samsara and nirvana. It's in that one where you get antidotes. So we don't have enough time to do this today, unfortunately. But I'm just telling you this thing. Then love for the near and for the not so near. So this is how you can train that, is when you walk through the streets, you look at people and you think, may you be happy, may you be well. Like this you develop it. Learning how to accept people the way they are, without needing to know them, without them needing to like you, or without them doing anything for you, whatever. I used to have a lot of aversion for people. So just thinking about them would make me feel uncomfortable. And by these practices, I think at the moment, maybe there's one that the relationship was very difficult. That still, from my side, it's fine, but I know that from her side, it's not okay. Maybe there's one that I feel a little bit something uncomfortable. I would like to do something about it and talk about it, but I see that she's not ready, so I leave it. I see that she's not ready. Maybe she would be ready, and I'm too chicken to kind of contact her. I don't know. But from my side, it's still, it's not so good. But it's one in the whole world. One. Sometimes it's none. Before I did this, many. I disliked because of this or that, what they did, and da. And I'm talking about personal relationships, not, I don't like Trump, though, it's obvious, yeah. But there's no, I can think of him and it doesn't go in here, yeah. So to work on love, we do a loving kindness meditation before we finish this evening. It's very simple, actually, in a way. Not to be afraid. And also, we can do a lot of discussions on it. What is love? What it is not? Yeah. And unattached love is much easier with people that you're not so close to. And you will feel it's much more relaxed. Yeah. And then if they don't like you, it's fine. As long as you have good feelings towards them, that's okay. Yeah. If it's somebody that you're attached to and then you feel that they're rejecting you, then it becomes difficult. So we start first with easier object. Also, by the way, maybe objects, I know I'm jumping from here to there, but then I forget if I'm not saying it now. If you have problems sitting down and meditating, it's because you don't have results. Yeah, so we shouldn't be result oriented. But if nothing changes and if your meditation is only a struggle, I understand that people give up. And I read something from Tenzin Palmo the other day, which make a lot of sense. That she says, if you start meditating, you have to start with an object that is very easy to find. And then you start to go to more subtle objects. Because we have to, first the mind needs to become stable. So the mind can only become stable with an object that is easy to find, and that's the body. So if you meditate and you think it's not meditating because I'm thinking, you start to meditate just, I don't want to say concentrating, just being aware that the body is sitting. This is how you start. Body is sitting, body is sitting, body is sitting, until you get the experience of body is sitting. And then you keep that experience. And when it goes away, you bring it back. So you said you start with the body posture. Then you go to the breath. When you feel that, the awareness of the body sitting is very stable. Then you go to the breath. Then you go to your emotions. And then you go to the nature of your mind. Made a lot of sense. Because it's difficult to do it regularly when nothing changes. And then, of course, the group. I think it's very difficult to, some people claim that they do it, but that people start to meditate alone at home without any group, without any instructions, and they do it regularly. I'm not sure. Maybe people can do it, but can you do it? This is, just because somebody else can do it, it doesn't mean that I can do it. I need the group. I'm very grateful to the group that we do every Tuesday. We just sit for 1 hour and that's it. Yeah. And also what I started to do, because now the people who come there, they're all experienced. I'm not saying anything anymore. Because what I notice in me with these guided meditations, I'm not meditating, I'm waiting for the person to say something. Which is good. It's great to do that from time to time in a teaching weekend, whatever. But all the time, only that, you're not making any real progress. Because you're depending on and you're outside, you're me. I see some people nodding, because I noticed that with myself, that this is what I'm doing. I'm not really doing anything. I'm just waiting. And then maybe when the person says, do this, then I do that. But then it's gone again. So we need to learn to do it by ourselves. But where do you learn it? In the group. Yeah. Okay. Third one is no feelings of wanting revenge. Because nobody can harm you anymore, because you're dying. You're going. You see these grudges that we have towards people. That we have a tendency, I think, to kind of push them away because we're decent people, we are good people, we have a good heart, we're Swiss, we're not angry at people. And then we don't address these feelings. Yeah? We are a society of not... Where are you from, by the way?
Hungary.
Huh?
Hungary.
Okay. So, but have you noticed here how I think Hungary is better. That part of the world is better with emotions, to live in. Also the south of Europe is much better. It's like, you're angry, you show your anger, but then it's gone. It's not like, oh no, somebody, what's wrong with you? Oh, nothing. What's wrong with you? It's like, we don't dare to do it. Of course, it's no good to kind of go around screaming at everybody and hurting people. but we suppress them. We're not really working with them. Yeah, and then they fester underneath. So if somebody has harmed you, maybe they're not even aware of it, but maybe if you think that somebody has harmed you, then try it out and visualize the person in front of you and say, I forgive you. I forgive you for having harmed me. And see how it feels, whether it's really a letting go. Forgiving is like, it's an art. It's very, very difficult. And we think we have forgiven very often, but we haven't. How do you know that you have forgiven?
Stop telling yourself stories about it.
For example, but a very clear sign that you have forgiven.
After 5 years really struggling with forgiving somebody, it was last week that I suddenly, I can't say that it wasn't a single thing, but it was just a feeling.
Yeah.
I said, wow, now it's okay.
Yeah.
But don't ask me why and
yeah.
what caused it. It was just, it's time, and it's these reoccurring thoughts.
Yeah. When you feel it that you have forgiven, then you have forgiven. And the sign is that you really have forgiven when you hear somebody else telling you that the person is really well, really successful, really happy, and you're happy about this. And not kind of, oh, wow, they don't deserve it. Oh, all this. And you start telling the other person how bad they are. When you say, oh, how wonderful. And not just blah, blah. Actually, the blah, blah is not so bad, because once we start saying it, all of a sudden underneath something starts to transform also. Yeah. Even if it's totally hypocritical, but it's a start. At least we are able to say it. We don't mean it, but we're able to say it. Yeah. And then if you know that, okay, it's not right, it's not true, but then if you keep saying it, thinking it, saying it, until it opens, it's such a relief, because you're total prisoner of that person. They have so much power over you, because every time you think of them, you feel bad, even they're not here. Sometimes even people are already dead. We go like this, Okay, no. So then you have to check. Now, do I have such feelings towards somebody? And then starting to kind of let go. Another good, helpful state of mind is like confession. To really tell somebody what you think, what you have done, which is bad. You need a lot of courage to do that. And when you are able to do it, it shows that you have the courage. And then the fear of being not loved, rejected, and all this is gone because you said it. So don't wait until your deathbed. But if there's still things that are kind of bothering you, then try to find somebody that you can confess. It's very helpful, because this is what makes people restless very often. So when I ask them, is there something that you want to tell me? Very often it comes out very quickly. Because I'm a neutral person. I'm not family. I'm not friends. I don't really know them. So I'm not judging them. They feel that I am not judging them. So that it's safe to tell me. Yeah. Find a person that you feel safe, that you can confess. Try it out. It's quite relieving. Catholic Church has it. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a really good thing. Because if you can confess, it's from there that the purification starts, because you take responsibility. When you'll have the module about karma, then we will talk about confession and the 4 powers and all this. Then a determination to make it better in your next life. That would be another helpful thing. We have a tendency to hang back in the past and say, "Oh, I did this wrong and this wrong and this wrong," but we don't have any determination to do it better. Whatever we have already done, this is it. We've done. And the determination, okay, I'll try better next life. It does something to your emotions. Yeah, you let go. Okay, goofed it up. May I have another chance? I will try better next time. It's a very healthy, strong attitude. Then, of course, if you have negative emotions, to apply antidotes. But for that, you need to learn them. A dedication. Whatever good I did in my life, may others benefit from that. Giving away your, even dedication, actually mentally giving away all your possessions. Whatever you want to do with them. Enjoy them, fine. Throw them away, fine. No problem. Yeah. And the dedication that whatever I did good in my life, may other people benefit from it. Then it's not that I'm such a great person. No worries and no fear. Take refuge. So you need to know where your refuge is. And this refuge needs to be something that protects you. Now, how can something external protect us?
Does it have to be external?
It doesn't have to be, well, external, like something else than yourself.
You can take refuge in your clear mind?
You can, but I'm talking about something external, because we might not be able to take refuge in our clear mind. What I see is that something external really helps.
Could that be?
Because you are not, when you're not well and you're dying, you are not we don't believe in your clear mind. Yeah. Again, if you practice it during your life, maybe yes. Yeah. But who told you that you have a clear mind? Did you find out yourself?
No, but just
No,
when we're doing
please,
the meditation.
Who told you that you have a clear mind?
No, what I was saying is when we're doing the meditation.
Who told you that you have a clear mind? Who find out that the nature of the mind is clear?
It's just...
He's sitting above me.
It's just a feeling that I get. Yeah.
Did you know from the beginning without anybody having to tell you that the nature of your mind is clear?
No, I know when I have a clear mind and when I don't have a clear mind.
Okay, but who told you that the nature of your mind is clear?
I came to observe it. I came to realize it by comparing it to when it was not clear.
So you didn't need any instructions from anybody that you could go and look, like somebody taught you to meditate or something?
Of course, it's through meditation.
That's the external object.
Oh, I see.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So when I pointed here, I said like here, somebody told us about this clear mind. So we trust that person. And when we give trust to an external object, then that external object protects us. So the protection doesn't come from there. The protection comes from here. And I told the story of a father who told me that there was an old woman who was dying and she was screaming and screaming and screaming. She didn't know what to do. She couldn't calm her down with all, God and Jesus and whatever. And she took her in her arms and she started singing I Kørenes Gløgli. It's a thing that you sing to children in Switzerland when they're small, when they can't go to sleep. And she immediately calmed down. Because what? Mommy is here. I am protected. Yeah. So the mommy wasn't there. But the song symbolized the mother. So this is what I'm saying. So this is why if you can take refuge in your clear mind, that is fantastic. But it looks as if when the mind is totally out of it, an external object is more accessible than an internal object. But you need to be familiar with that object.
When you say object, for me, Buddha's mind is not an object.
But this mind has a form. Also, the mind is an object. Whatever exists is an object, It doesn't have to be material.
My brains and everything, that's an object. I can hold it. So, but he's
Okay, what happens when you look at the Buddha figure? Even though you are not thinking about it at all.
I put what I can hold, what I can touch. It's for me not that. It's for me what his message is.
But doesn't the figure remind you of his message?
Yes.
And isn't the figure helpful to remember that he gave us a message? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah. And your visual contact to the Buddha, your mind might not be able to hear the message anymore. But as I said yesterday with Ani Ursula, Yeah, when she saw the Buddha, she smiled, although she was totally dement.
Mhm.
Yeah, the mind didn't have access anymore to words or message, but it still had access to the form. Yeah, so that's what I mean.
When you say form, you think of the message and not of the shape. In German, a form.
I
is
think
ein-
of everything. This is why we have so many Buddha images, because it reminds us. Yeah. Because it reminds us of the message. Because otherwise it's difficult to remember. This is what I'm saying. But again, it doesn't mean that you need to do all of them. Yeah. It's like, just check it out. When you feel totally out of it and you don't feel well, you sit down and you look at the Buddha. See what it does to you. Or if you're capable, see what the Buddha said. What did the Buddha say? The nature of your existence is dissatisfactory, is suffering, is dukkha. And here we are, not believing it and wanting something different. Then he continued to say the causes for that. And we know our negative emotions and our karma. So we start to accept. And then the good message is it's possible to end it, and how. Yeah, for example. Again, this thing, it's normal. It is a magic word. We think suffering is not normal in life. We think getting old and getting sick and getting dement is not normal. It is normal.
Yes.
But we reject that. The moment we start to understand, yes, it is normal to get old and you lose your memory and get, in my case, fat and all this and that. It's okay. It's normal. The moment we know it's normal, it's okay.
It's not in our education. We never hear anything.
So what? You're going to...
Nothing.
But we are having a Buddhist education here.
Yes, but we are already grown up and...
So
we
what?
are
You're going to
searching
blame
for
the
ourselves.
educational system?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You give them too much power, your educational system, when you blame them. Yeah. When you blame them. It's not their fault. It's like, it's okay. You still have time to learn to say, when you wake up in the morning, oh wow, it's actually not normal that I'm healthy. How wonderful that I'm healthy. When you wake up sick, you get, well, it's normal. I carry all the conditions with me to get sick. Yeah. You see, a friend of mine who lived a very healthy life, and now she's really sick, high blood pressure and doesn't come down, and she's desperate. She said, but I led a healthy life my whole life. I didn't, I was an alcoholic, I eat chips and all these kind of things because I love it. It's like, and if you put too much on this whole thing, I lead a healthy life, then I will not suffer when I get old. It's an illusion. Maybe no, but maybe yes, and she's so disappointed because now it seems as if she's been, kind of, how to say, depriving herself of things that I was doing and enjoying, and it didn't help. So also when you are with dying people, you have to be careful that, if somebody you knew, they smoked a lot, all this, you don't judge them for that. You go, well, if you wouldn't have smoked so much, or if you wouldn't have eaten so many chips like I did or whatever. It's like, luckily I get a headache when I eat chips because my liver is not good. So I don't eat so many, just from time to time. But I enjoy them so much, So that's what I'm saying. It is not. The moment we understand it's normal, we relax. It's only when we think it's not normal that we start to get really tense and tight. Okay. So the refuge would be, the Buddha's teachings, you're right. But the body of the Buddha represents whatever the Buddha is. And to that we have access with the eyes. It's very quick. Yeah. Shape and color and forms, it has a lot of influence on our mental, what we do. How powerful that is when they did in the movie theaters, they kind of blended in publicity of things you can't even consciously see. And then people went out and bought that bar of chocolate or something. Okay, thinking about impermanence. It's another very healthy mental state or mental factor. Think about impermanence. Yeah, everybody dies. I'm not the only one. It's normal. It's natural to go. Not this I shouldn't die, this holding on to things. Then if you still have the capacity to think about emptiness, if you have the capacity, don't count on it so much that, but when the I starts to rebel, already now when it starts to rebel, you go and look for it. How does it exist? It manifests in such a way. Does it really exist that way? Where is it? And then the last one, the 11th one is only nirvana is peace, like no attachment on samsaric pleasures. So you have maybe a chance to be liberated. Then when you say, oh, I want to be, my only enemy that I have is my negative emotions and my wrong views. So I want to be able to recognize them and all this, not to be attracted to good life. Because we've been asking a Lama once, is like, we have so many people in Switzerland, Germany, France, these more developed places, that they would have all the conditions to practice the Dharma. Time, money, intelligence, groups around them, but they don't. So when they say you need so much positive karma to create these conditions, and you need to work quite hard, why doesn't one remember, and why don't they practice? Because why don't they have interest? And then he said, one reason could be because you practiced because of being happy now. And then you still have the very good karma that gives you these conditions, but you have absolutely no interest in going any further. Because these 8 worldly concerns, they are so strong. They are so strong. Yeah? You remember them? Being attached or wanting pleasure and we don't want pain or comfort. Being attached to gain and not wanting loss. Being attached to praise, not wanting to be criticized. Although praise doesn't make us a better person. People see things in me that I don't have, and they praise me for it. And then it's like, it doesn't give me those things because somebody else is praising me for them. And criticizing me for something that I don't have, it doesn't give it to me. But criticizing is quite good, because if we want to grow, then we need to know what other people see, what I maybe haven't seen. But it's so difficult to take, isn't it? We're so afraid of it. When I say we, I mean me. What about you? How do you like it when, the feedback comes? How do you look at it with I wonder what it says. Totally open, totally without any fear or any, yeah? Are you like this? I'm not like this. And I love the feedbacks, which are good, of course. And then I get a bit kind of about the ones who are no good. But I see now with the feedbacks I get from the workshops, from the school teachers, it's helpful. And sometimes I also see where it comes from, because I said something that kind of wasn't skillful for the teacher. Because this is what I'm saying. I'm saying it's so sad that in our educational system, kids don't learn how to be happy. They don't even know what emotions are. Teenagers have no clue what an emotion is. They write down situations, not emotions. And she probably felt attacked because of that. So, because she's not, I don't make her responsible for the educational system. She doesn't make the program. So anyway, so those are these 11 helpful factors at the time.
What was the 8?
Okay, I go through them again, but I'll send them to you. I'll make a list. I say non-attachment, love for near and also the ones who are not so, no feelings of revenge, confession, the determination to make it better, applying antidotes to your negative emotions, number 6. 7 is dedication, dedicating. 8 is no worries and fear, and you take refuge. 9 is you think about impermanence. 10, you think about emptiness. 11 you think about, only when I'm free from all my negative emotions and wrong views, I will have the peace that I'm yearning for, and not to be attached to samsaric pleasures which feed into this, into attachment and desire.
Venerable, the one about wanting to make it better in the next life.
Mm-hmm.
This has to be a conditional statement, right? Because it has to be if I return, then I want to make it better. But if you say, oh, I want to return to make it better, then it means that you want to come back into samsara.
Well,
Isn't it? Shouldn't you want at your moment of death not to come back?
yeah, if you are that advanced.
But then you say, if I don't succeed in not coming back, then I want to come back and make it better.
Yeah.
No?
It's, when do you apply this one saying next time, or I'll make it? When do you apply it?
The point when you're dying.
Yeah, at the point when you're dying. When what mind state would induce that thought, next time I'll make it better? What thought that comes before that would induce that one, next one I'll make it better?
You accept you are going.
Huh?
You accept you are going.
You
accept that you are going.
Yeah.
Well, you know the things you haven't done well. Or
Exactly. When you think I goofed it up, that
I
comes
have no
before.
chance of becoming...
When you don't think you goofed it up, you don't need that one.
Okay.
When we feel guilty. I mean, how many people feel guilty about having harmed others when they die? You can't imagine. And sometimes it's really small stuff, but it becomes so big because if you've been suppressing it your whole life, you don't have the force and the strength anymore to suppress it when you're dying, and then it all comes up, and it's been growing. It had become, sometimes it's lying about which university she went to. I thought she had killed somebody the way she felt guilty when she went out. No, really. I thought it was something really big, and then she comes out with this one. In order to get a job, she lied about the university she went to. Obviously, it's a country that is very, very, very important which university you go to, but it's like this. But for us, we break out laughing. But for her, it was destroying her peace of mind, but totally. Yeah. So this is what I'm saying. You don't need to do all 11. You see, when you feel like I've goofed it up, and this again you practice in your daily life when you try to be kind, and then again the ego comes up and you're totally unkind, and then you think, okay, I goofed it up this time. You let go. Next time I'll try better. Then you goof it up again. Then again you go, next time I'll try better. And so on. Instead of just remaining in that thing, again I did wrong, or again I wasn't able to do that. This is how you nourish your self-confidence. Did you see what time it is? I said I would give you a break. I didn't give you a break. Huh? What shall we do? Maybe we just do another. I tell you 2 more things, and then we have lunch. I'm in that aspect. I'm sorry, I'm totally not Swiss. I even made a timeline this time so that I'm not. But it's here like that, So I'm sorry. Huh? Maybe I need to Rolex. Yeah. I need a clock that goes beep, 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 beep when the thing should be finished, or warning, like they do in the Zoom. When you have 10 minutes discussion, then it comes. You have 2 more minutes, so Okay, so there is what is called the sutra at the time of death, which you can make yourself familiar with it already now. And this also helps you then to produce all these things that you would like to produce. Now, I don't know where it is. Oh. And another thing is, while I'm looking for the sutra at the time of death, another thing is Tonglen to do at the time of death. With your breath, giving and taking, are you familiar with that? Mm-hmm. Again, we'll do it. I hope we will do it. Like kind of thinking, the first thing that comes in Tonglen is always, okay, I'm not well, I suffer, I'm dying. Many other people are in the same situation. May they not suffer. Kind of opening up the thing, not just me. So many other people are dying that same moment. Then your problem becomes much smaller. May they not suffer. And then you use your breath to do that. We will do it. Yeah. Or a thought of, okay, I'm going. You can use your breath by breathing in, opening up, thinking, I'm open to whatever wants to come. This creates so much courage, because the fear and the suffering comes when we lock up. When you totally open up, you give space to these unpleasant things. And you say yourself, you encourage yourself by breathing in, I'm open to whatever wants to come. Then again, like me, take my body, Then something comes and then you go, no, you close up again. But then you try again. And then with the breath, when things go fairly well, okay, let it come. I'm open to whatever wants to come. This is Tonglen. This is like the method. Whatever wants to come is fine. Because nothing will come, which is not my karma, by the way. Nothing will come that will not come in the future somehow. So let it come now. Or a thought of, no matter where I am going to be reborn, but may I be of benefit to others. Again, even if it's just lip service, even if it's just a thought and you don't really mean it, if you continue to nourish that thought, it will become an attitude. And you will do it naturally. And you will be so happy when somebody comes and wants help. At the moment, I think most of us, when I say we and you feel like you're not like this, then be happy that you're not like this. I think most of us, we like to help, but we also want to have it our way. Yeah. It's nice to help, but we also, not too much, not too, like the way I want it, when I have time, when it's convenient. May somebody see me also on top of it, then I'm a good person. All this kind of swings into the wish to help. We have quite a lot of agendas into the helping thing. It's okay, we all have it, yeah. So this whole thing about, no matter what, I just want to be of benefit. Slowly, this agenda goes. It's not necessary anymore because you feel the benefits. You really feel the benefits. The less agenda you have, the more open your heart is because you really want to be of benefit, the less you burn out. We're doing things with like the, people who go in Israel, a group of people who get, who have actually a 2-year study and practicing together in order to accompany dying people. And so, this whole thing, what do I do not to burn out? Because it's difficult, when you have young mothers who are dying when they have children, or children with cancer. It's not easy. So what do you do in order not to burn out? So somebody said, and I see how well she is and how much she's doing. You know what? Because it's always, how can I protect myself? How do I put boundaries? I said, you know what? The best protection is an open heart. But that's difficult because the ego is covering that up. The ego is the one who is afraid. Oh, what about me? You give so much time and so much care to that other person. What about me? Yeah. So whenever, in smaller situations now, you feel that the heart is closing, open it up again and send out love and see light in here. My nature, my open heart in the form of light. When you breathe out that light. May you be happy, may you be well, may you be protected, like this. So this is a good thing to remember. The best protection is an open heart. I think the more you put boundaries and the more you try to arrange it in a way so that it's okay for you, the more dangerous it becomes. Then yeah, if you need to look after yourself, it's fine. Do it, but don't feel guilty doing it. Do it with the thought, now I need to back off and I need to look after myself. Why do I want to look after myself? So I can come back out again, being totally strong and being able to give everything I have. And you train the mind with words, with quotes. This daily practice by Lama Zopa Rinpoche that he gave us. You tell yourself, may I give my body, my possessions, my merits, this is the training. You train mentally, and then you're ready to do it. Now, we want to do it, but we don't train. And we still have this selfish attitude. I want to be happy, I want to be well, which is fine. But you can't do both together, because that's when you burn out. When you're not quite clear yet, not here, but down here. When down here, it's not quite clear yet why you are doing this. The donation boxes here. What is your attitude when you put in money? Your attitude is, I want to help the center so that they can continue, isn't it? It's a very good attitude. But another attitude would be, wow, fantastic. They give me the opportunity to practice generosity. The way you put the money in when you have this attitude is totally different. Because otherwise, I am helping the center. Otherwise, it's, hey, they give me something. I receive something. And I see with people, again, the lady who is depressed, she's very rich and she gives a lot, it's true. But she only sees what she gives. She doesn't see what she receives. So when we start to see also what we receive from people who allow us to help them, because what do they do for us? They make us feel good about ourselves. So it's a fantastic gift that they give us. They give us self-confidence. I can help others. I can step over my boundaries and borders. So then the attitude and the reaction to the whole thing, the response to the whole thing is totally different. Yeah. So we have like verses where you train these things. And if you don't know why you're doing this, you say, why should I give my body? I mean, come on. Wow. So, but this is how you train, with words. And then slowly the mind changes. And from psychology, we know that this works. People hear something, they start to believe it, they start to become it. What's the thing? Be careful of your thoughts, because they become your words. Be careful of your words, because they become your actions. Be careful of your actions, because they become your habits. Be careful of your habits, because they become your character or your destiny or whatever, something like that. This is where it starts. Don't underestimate positive thoughts. This is where the transformation starts. Okay, so then just so that we do this before lunch, the sutra at the time of death, it's very short. Yeah, usually sutras are like this. It's just like this, and it's so helpful. And so I leave the first part. So, homage to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, it starts, and then it says, you have it in your package that you received.
You haven't received anything.
Thus, this morning.
Nina. It's at the end of it, I think.
Okay.
Thus I have heard. At one time, the victor was in the celestial mansion of the king of the gods in the heaven beneath none, and was teaching his whole retinue when the great being, the Bodhisattva Akashagarbha, having paid homage, made the following request to the victor. The victor is the Buddha, victorious one. Why is he a victor, the Buddha? Sounds a bit haughty, no, the victor.
Because he gained.
What did he gain? Where was he victorious? Which battle did he win?
The mind.
His negative, not the whole mind, his negative emotions. So that's why he's victorious one. How should a bodhisattva who is about to see how should a bodhisattva who is about to die, there's a comma missing here, see the mind? The victor answered, Akashagarbha, when bodhisattvas are about to die, they should cultivate the wisdom on going beyond. This exalted wisdom on going beyond is a thorough cultivation of the understanding that since things are pure of any inherent existence, they do not have objective existence. So you think about emptiness. It appears, but it does not exist. Since all practices are included within the spirit of enlightenment, they should thoroughly cultivate the attitude of great compassion. May nobody suffer. That's great compassion. Not just the good ones and the victims, but also Mr. Trump. May he not suffer in his future lives from what he's doing now, because he will. I'll not be happy when we know that he will. Since all phenomena are clear light by nature, they should thoroughly cultivate the understanding that they are unobservable, like the mind. Since all functional things are impermanent, they should thoroughly cultivate the attitude of not being attached to anything at all. Since understanding the mind is the cause of wisdom, they should thoroughly cultivate the attitude of not looking for Buddhahood elsewhere or for awakening elsewhere than in their own mind. The victor spoke these lines: since phenomena are pure by nature, cultivate recognition that they lack true existence. Since they have the spirit of enlightenment, cultivate an attitude of great compassion. Since phenomena are clear light by nature, cultivate recognition that they are unobservable. Since functional things are impermanent, cultivate the attitude of non-attachment. Since the mind is the cause of wisdom, do not look elsewhere for full awakening or for Buddhahood. This is what the victor said. The Bodhisattva, Kashyagarbha, and the others as well as the whole assembled retinue rejoiced with delight and pleasure and praised what the victor had said. This concludes the Mahayana Sutra, known as the wisdom on going beyond. So if you familiarize yourself with this verse here, and you know what it means, and you meditate on it, even your mind is, I think, even your mind is totally out of it. Somebody reads it next to you. Your mind will recognize something. You need to be familiar with it. Also, we say like chanting mantras on all this. Yeah, it might work, but mantras and nothing is magical that works by itself. Everything is a dependent arising. So the more familiar you are with this, the more it will be of help at the time of death. So read it from time to time. And so this is the whole Buddhist path in one small verse. So it's okay just to have the essence, but in order to understand the essence, you need to understand the whole thing. Then you can go down to the essence. Otherwise, it doesn't mean anything. If you read that to somebody who's non-Buddhist, they say, what do you mean non-existence? What do you mean this doesn't exist? Yeah. What do you mean your mind is pure? Yeah. So this is what I mean. So that's another very helpful thing that I really like. I find this very inspiring.
Did it come?
Yeah, this one did come.
Oh, what's the
So
I don't think this one was in the attention.
It's in the
it's the one I sent
the
to
first one, the 8
Talia.
Dissolutions and Sutra.
Ah, okay.
Oh,
At
okay.
the end, but it's not the exact same format.
No.
It's
It
slightly-
might be
slightly
another
different version.
it might be another different version.
The words aren't exactly the
Ah,
same.
okay, yes, the last page.
I find this better, so I might have sent you the one I don't find so well.
I
But
do.
but it's in spirit, it's basically the same.
This one, huh?
Wisdom at the time of death sutra.
The sutra at the wisdom of the time of death. Maybe what I'll do, I'll send this translation because it's from Ruth Sonam. I'll send it again, and then you can choose which version you want. But now we make lunch time. So okay, so we have lunch until 2:00. So it's an hour and a half. Before we go to lunch, close your eyes and think that we are going to eat now. We are taking this for completely granted, completely normal, that we can just walk upstairs and fill our stomachs. We totally forget that so many beings were involved in bringing this food about. Not just the people who prepared it and put it in a pot and brought it here, but people who planted it, who grew it, like the parents of these people, the grandparents, like the whole universe. What is also in there is Mother Earth. And we treat her in a really not so kind way. So we say thank you. We start to try to imagine how many beings are connected to this food, down to the smallest insects. The people who planted it, harvested it, looked after it, transported it, put it in the shelves, sold it. Then the people who made the pots where I cooked it, the people who made the pipes where the water comes out. It's like no end. So you open up your heart and you say, thank you very much. Thanks to your effort. Thanks to that you do these difficult jobs of growing food, transporting it, selling it. I can eat now, which keeps my body healthy and alive. Thank you very much. And then, whatever spiritual practice I do, may it benefit you, because this is my way of repaying your kindness. I am practicing not just for myself, but for all these beings who have provided me with food in this life and all my past lives. For all these beings who have loved me, who have looked after me, who cared for me, knowingly or unknowingly, doesn't matter. For all these beings who made it possible for me to survive and have a good life. For all these beings, I practice. We think of nature, Mother Earth, and we make a promise. Whatever I don't need, may I not buy it, may I not consume it. At least a wish. It's not a promise. Yet. Start making promises when you're sure that you can, more or less sure you can keep them. First a wish. May my attachment to certain things, may it lessen. So whatever I don't need, may I not buy it, not consume it, not take it because it's freely available. And thank you very much for still feeding us, Mother Nature, like the earth, the sun, the wind, the water. May all beings be able to understand that we depend on you and not you on us. And then you offer the food before you eat it to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, or to whatever other object which is your refuge. It's good if it's a transcendental object. Out of gratitude again to have these methods, to have these teachings, that these beings have finished the path. They have become victors over their negative emotions. And so that's why they can show us this path out of experience, not theory, because they experienced their negative emotions. They found an antidote and applied it, and now they're free. So we offer it to them in whatever form they appear in your mind. Source of light, just an energy, or the form of the Buddhas, transcendent, made out of light, transparent. We see that they are receiving this food, they're very happy, and they send back light rays that inspire us, support us, help us. And the merit that comes from offering the food, we give it away to all these beings who made it possible for us to eat. Like we're just kind of a middle link there. We make the offerings, but the benefit, the good karma that comes from making the offerings, we give it to all the hell beings, to all the hungry ghosts, to all the animals, to all the humans, the asuras and suras, to all the beings in the bardo, to all the beings in the form and formless realms, so that everybody may attain full awakening very, very quickly. Okay. Thank you very much. If you do have an attachment to food, offering it like this before you eat is a very good way to get rid of attachments. Okay. And then please, whatever you eat, do enjoy it. Because otherwise, all the effort that these people made is for nothing. So you have a responsibility when you eat, that you enjoy it.